Every seasoned gardener has that one quiet trick that tells them more about their soil than any fancy digital meter ever could. Long before moisture sensors or lab kits, the old-timers used their hands and their senses to judge soil vitality. One of their most reliable methods was what they called the soil fever test. It's a test that doesn't require technology, just a small pit, your hands, and a keen sense of observation. What it reveals, however, is the hidden pulse of life beneath your garden. The heat of microbial activity that signals whether your soil is thriving or struggling. The warmth test reveals the invisible work of microbes beneath the surface. Healthy soil is not just dirt, it's a living, breathing ecosystem. The temperature of that soil tells you everything about its biological rhythm. When you dig into an active garden bed, especially one rich in compost, mulch, or decaying organic matter, you may feel a faint, gentle warmth. That warmth is no coincidence. It's the byproduct of billions of microorganisms breaking down organic material, releasing energy as heat in the process. When soil is alive, it operates almost like a metabolic system. Just as the human body generates warmth when active, microbial life in soil does the same. This natural fever is the clearest sign that your compost, cover crop roots, and organic amendments are working together to sustain soil fertility. When you dig into a patch and it feels cool, lifeless, or even compacted and damp without warmth, it signals that microbial activity has slowed, and your soil ecosystem may need feeding or aeration. So, here's how you perform the soil fever test the old-fashioned way. First, pick out a spot in your garden that's had steady organic input, maybe close to your composted beds, underneath a nice thick mulch layer, or around some of your more heavily fed perennials. Using a hand trowel or a small spade, dig down about 6 to 8 inches, just enough to reach that darker inner layer where roots and all those microbial colonies are really thriving. Now, pause for a few seconds before you reach in. The temperature difference between the air and the soil can sometimes be subtle, but, it's often noticeable. Place your hand over the open soil, then gently touch it. If you feel warmth, that means there's active microbial breakdown happening, especially if the air temperature is cooler than the soil. But if you only feel cool or neutral soil, well, that could mean microbial activity is dormant, pretty common during dry, cold, or compacted conditions. However, if you do feel a distinct warmth, that's what we call your soil's fever, a sure sign that decomposition is happening efficiently. A lot of older gardeners would even take a moment to smell the soil at this stage. A rich, earthy scent points to good biological health, while a sour or kind of stagnant odor usually means there's an imbalance, often because of poor aeration or waterlogging. That warmth is more than a comfort. It's evidence that your soil's nitrogen, carbon, and mineral cycles are actively converting organic matter into plant-available nutrients. During this process, bacteria and fungi release carbon dioxide, humic acids, and trace elements that feed roots naturally. In cold or inactive soil, nutrients stay locked up and plants may appear pale or sluggish despite fertilization. Gardeners who maintain living mulch layers, compost-rich amendments, and moisture balance tend to see warmer soil year-round. For example, a bed topped with 2 inches of leaf mold or straw mulch can hold warmth longer into the evening, creating ideal conditions for decomposers like actinomycetes and earthworms. This is why traditional growers often describe warm soil as a living soil. It's not just temperature, but biological momentum. If your soil fails the warmth test, it doesn't mean it's dead. It just needs a boost of life. Begin by layering organic materials that promote microbial bloom. One simple formula used by old gardeners is the carbon-nitrogen sandwich. Start by sprinkling a thin layer of composted manure or kitchen scraps, that's your nitrogen layer, followed by, about twice as much dry leaves, straw, or shredded cardboard for the carbon layer. Water it lightly, then cover it with a mulch layer to help retain heat. Within about 2 weeks, this combination begins to ferment naturally, creating warmth similar to a compost pile's gentle core heat. In areas where the climate is cool, adding a handful of wood ash or a small scoop of fine biochar into the mix can help stabilize nitrogen, preventing ammonia loss and keeping microbes fed over a longer period. Ratios don't have to be exact, but generally, using about 2 parts carbon-rich material to 1 part nitrogenous input creates a steady, slow heating process that really helps revive dormant soil life. Another method is to sow green manures like clover or fenugreek before a resting season. As their roots decay, they release energy that warms and feeds the soil from within, maintaining that subtle internal heat even in cooler weather. This organic warmth engine keeps microbes active through mild winters and early spring transitions. Many traditional gardeners use the soil fever test at the change of seasons, early spring, midsummer, and late autumn. It really served as a natural guide for when to feed the soil or turn compost. If the soil was warm, that meant the ecosystem was self-sustaining, but if it was cold, well, that was a sign it was time to intervene. By inserting a small stick into the pile and removing it after a day, they could actually gauge microbial heat by touch. If the stick was warm and damp, decomposition was strong. Repeating this test a few times a year not only connects you more deeply to your soil's life cycle, but also helps track progress. You begin to recognize how rainfall, mulching, and compost additions affect temperature and texture. It turns gardening into observation and relationship rather than just a mechanical routine. This ancient test keeps gardeners connected to living soil. The soil fever test is more than an old-fashioned curiosity. It's a direct sensory link to the biology that sustains every healthy garden. While modern tools can measure pH or moisture, none can replace the knowledge you gain from touch, smell, and presence. The next time you dig into your garden, take a moment to feel its warmth. If it's alive, you'll know it instantly, and if it's not, you'll know exactly how to bring it back to life, with organic matter, moisture, and, well, time. If you found this guide helpful, subscribe to Gentle Herb Living and share this with fellow gardeners who value real, time-tested methods. The ancient ways still hold wisdom modern tools can't replicate, especially when it comes to understanding living soil.